Hello and welcome to NOV Live. I'm Michael Gaines, host of the podcast NOV Today, and glad you're with us for another episode and conversation here on technology and some of the people that are helping provide those solutions to the energy space. So in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about some downhole technology, specifically the Drilling Agitator system from NOV, and that'll be really interesting. So you'll definitely want to stick around and join us for that conversation. So if you have questions for our subject matter expert that we'll introduce in just a moment, feel free to start putting those in the comments or thinking about what your question will be. So to help get us acclimated and situated in terms of how you can participate, we're going to bring in NOV's digital communications specialist, Shelby Dumaine. Hey, Shelby.
Hey, Michael. How are you doing today?
Good. Doing great.
Great. So throughout the show, if you watching at home would like to participate, ask a question, chime in, you can do so in the comment section. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I'm in the comments throughout the show reading all of them. And we're going to get to as many questions as we can throughout the show. I also wanted to mention, if you ever have a question or a comment for the show that maybe you don't want to put in the comment sections that you'd like to let us know, you can either email it to social.media@nov.com or socialmedia@nov.com, or you can call us. We have a new comment line. That number is 346-223-4799. So you can call us, you can leave us a voicemail and ask us your question or give us your comment. Speaking of comments, this is my favorite section of the show. We're going to now do the Rig Geeks segment.
Rig Geeks, host of the week.
All right, so this week's Rig Geek question, we're going to get it up here on the screen. How far do the pressure pulses from the agitator travel? And for bonus points, which direction do they travel in? So for the next couple minutes through the show, for about 10 minutes, if you want to comment your answer there, how far do pressure pulses travel or generated by the agitator travel, and in which direction? Comment that down below. And we're going to talk more about agitator drilling throughout the show. And then at the end, we're going to get to those answers and see who are our biggest rig geeks there in the comments. So let us know, and I look forward to seeing your answers.
Forward to that one, Shelby. But just before we go, because I know it's a new thing,
Yes.
I enjoy email just like anybody else. However, I enjoy phone calls even better. So if someone wants to leave a comment or just share an idea, give me that number one more time.
You got it. That number is 346-223-4799.
All
right
right,
there on the screen.
Sounds like you need a jingle with that, or so. If somebody has an idea for a jingle for that number, I'd love to hear it. Call us and tell us your idea.
So, I'm working on it. I'm not a singer, but I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Okay, good. Thanks, Shelby. We'll be back to you in a little bit. So, as we said at the top of the show, we're talking about the NOV agitator system and all things kind of technical in that space, both application and a little more insight into this particular piece of technology. So to help give us that perspective, today's guest is Mr. Danny Perez, who is the product line director for Drilling Agitators, and he's joining us from here in Houston. So Danny, thanks for joining us today.
Hello, Michael. Good morning. It's thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's our pleasure. Glad that you're here. So we're going to kind of jump in a little bit, maybe, and just talk about the agitator system. So I've been in the energy space for almost a decade now, and I think when I first started in drill bits. I was in the drill bit group, but right after that, one of the first technologies I learned about was the agitator system. So I know 10 years sounds like it's nothing, but in my world, that's everything. So I know that it continues to this particular piece of technology, the agitator system, continues to plow ahead and really continue to be used in many different areas. Could you maybe talk a little bit about the history and how the agitator system kind of got to where it is today?
Sure, Michael. Yeah, no, you're right. The technology has been around for a while. Definitely has a few miles on it. It actually started with a company in Aberdeen, is Undergauge, a company that made a lot of great other products, all mechanical, hydromechanical tools. And the Agitator really started in the early 2000s, but it was around 2008, 9, 10 when it really took off with the shale revolution in North America. Directional wells were being drilled already, but the Agitator took the efficiency of drilling on how to drill these directional wells to the next level, especially in the last few years, where the extended reach or the length of some of these lateral sections have gone to 15,000, 20,000, and beyond. Definitely, when you think of an enabling technology to allow for a process to follow through all the way through, the Agitator is definitely in the center of this directional drilling. It's been a great 15, 20 years. We're about to reach a huge milestone, which is reaching the amount of 100,000 runs, which it sounds, it's a quick number to say, but there's a lot of tears, effort, engineering work, and technical support to get this technology to be, so well adopted by the industry and every customer.
Wow. Well, I'm looking forward to the 100,000 the 100,000 run party that I hope that you have, because that is a lot of. It might be a small party, socially distant, but that's okay. I'll take any invite that you have. That's really great. Yeah. No, that's really good. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that during this time, obviously, there's been a lot of developments associated with the technology, but I think we've stayed true to the original DNA, which is keep a technology as reliable as you can make it, and then work on the performance side. So, deliver that reliability run after run, improve the performance and be the best out there. And last but not least, definitely the consistency of that performance, which is something that the Agitator does.
So maybe we can, because one of the hallmarks of the NOV Live program is really kind of starting to get into some of the more technical side of things. So I wanted to maybe jump into some of the engineering work that's been done on or done with the Agitator system. I know that there were a couple LinkedIn posts that I think you and others posted recently where you were talking about the topic of the validation and testing and so forth. Can you talk a little bit about that? What was that video about, and why is that important for folks to know?
Absolutely. So the one thing that I think every NOV employee can be very proud of is our R&D facilities. Our engineering teams are excellent. They truly understand the tools. And what is more important, they understand the applications where the tools are running. So, I think one of our objectives in the last couple of years has been to share with our customers and share with the oil and gas industry the capabilities that we have, not just to design good tools, but to make sure that we test them and test them again in lab settings, in functional rigs, all the way to our RDTC rig up in Navasota, where we can actually put a tool as close to actual conditions, drilling conditions, as it gets. Our engineering group, it's excellent. They've been working with the technology for years. Extremely technical folks that really understand the technology, and is like I said, in the last few years, we've come up with so many different technologies. And what is more important is that we're bringing them to market in really record times. To bring a technology from concept to an actual prototype, field tested, and then a commercial tool within 6 to 8 months is not something you see often. But like I said, there's a lot of sweat and tears that goes into it. We have a huge and excellent best technology at Air Center facility. We encourage our customers to come and check it out. We can give them tours if desired, where we have very powerful dynos where we can test the basic functionality of the tool, such as pressure pulse height and magnitude and cleanliness. And at the same time, then we have a lateral drilling rig in the back of the facility, where you can actually connect the shock tool to the agitator and truly run an agitator system like you would in the field, and really understand how is the tool behaving through different flow rate ranges, assess the actual axial displacement that the shock tool generates with the pressure pulses, and truly understand what is it that we're running out there.
Man, that's really cool, because I'm always a fan of like a visual representation is great, like reading about it is great, but be able to have kind of eyes on, hands on type of thing before you get it actually out in the field is always a great thing. So that's great to know that we have that capability.
Absolutely.
So for those that are just joining us, we're talking to Danny Perez, who is the product line director for Drilling Agitators, and we are talking about NOV's agitator system. And so if you have questions about the agitator system or anything kind of in that space, feel free to go ahead and put in your comments for those that are watching on either LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. And of course, you can always email us at socialmedia@nov.com. Or a new way of also reaching us is by giving us a call, and that number is 346-223-4799, and we'd be happy to get your question or your comment. So, Danny, you were talking about some of the videos that you posted recently. One of them that really caught my attention, and I mean, I know I'm in this space, but I was really impressed, is one that talked about the agitator system and really focusing in on the pull loads and showing kind of a test. I think that was at NOV's Research and Development Technology Center here in Navasota. So I thought it was a pretty neat video, but for those that say, okay, maybe they don't understand like why that's important. Can maybe you kind of set that up for us and talk about it? I know we're going to see it, but can you kind of set that up for us?
Absolutely. So that video, we were trying to do a remake of an old video that the Undergauge team did back in the day. Like you said, most people are very visual and they like to see how things work. It's very difficult to put a camera downhole and really record what the tool does downhole. But I think this test is an excellent example of, first of all, our capabilities as engineering company, and second, to really show our customers what the tool does and how it does it, right? So what we're looking at right now, it's in a lateral drilling rig with all the safety measures that we had to put in place and not put anybody in harm's way. But the idea was to connect an agitator system with a string of pipe to another pipe. So what you see on the right-hand side, it's a piece of pipe connected to the agitator system. And without the agitator, we actually started pulling to record the force it takes to drag that agitator system with the string through a piece of casing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the loads that we actually recorded, up to almost 1,500 pounds.
Right.
If we can play it again, that would be great. And what we did after that is we turned the agitator on. And with the agitator on, creating the pressure pulses and breaking friction, it was very obvious and very clear, evident how the agitator affects friction. Now, this is a static friction environment. I understand that. But the effects of the agitator are very similar in a dynamic friction environment. Not as dramatic, but definitely a big improvement. So the main takeaways here, basically you can see down on the bottom side, 1,500 pounds to pull that piece of string. The minute you turn on the flow, which means the agitator it starts to work as it should, you can see that the loads needed to pull the same piece of equipment is down to about 250. So almost fivefold. Now, downhole conditions are completely different. It's a little bit more difficult and not the same effects, but nevertheless, the concept will be identical. The other thing that I wanted to bring up during this video is that there is the misconception that the agitator system shakes the pipe and shakes the rig to pieces. And the fact is, like the video shows, is that the pressure pulses are very gentle. The axial oscillations are very gentle, but still powerful to keep the system in a dynamic state. I think at the end of the show, we're going to go back to that question about how far do the pressure pulses travel. But I wanted to bring that up because it is a misconception. The pressure pulses are effective enough to activate the shock tool and keep the system moving in a frictionless environment, or as close as you're going to get to it, but not strong enough to unless you're very close to surface, obviously.
So maybe we'll jump to more of a basic question for those that have heard about the agitator system, or maybe work in a different space in the field and maybe aren't as close to the downhole tool. So someone says, okay, you have a tool that like the agitator system that reduces friction. Why would I want to incorporate? Where would I use this type of tool, and why would I want to incorporate it in my drilling program? Why would someone want to use the agitator system in their drilling program?
Definitely, drilling efficiency is something that everybody is looking for. You want to drill faster, you want to drill safer, you want to drill more efficiently. The agitator system enables you to do that. It does by reducing friction and help you manage weight transfer. You basically have more control of the downhole environment. And that's what we see in runs where the agitator is included. We can see that the weight transfer is improved considerably, some cases in 20, 30%. Of course, if you have more weight and better managed, your ROP is improved. You get better differential to your motor, which is something that directional applications, our customers struggle with. And vibration management. If you can control your drilling parameters and your downhole environment, your vibrations, you're never going to get rid of all vibrations because that's how we drill. But you can reduce these vibrations that are actually taking energy away from the system in a way that is detrimental to the system itself. So vibration reduction is continuously in 90% of our runs is a very clear, evident benefit of using agitators in these directional applications.
So maybe you're talking about different applications, and maybe we can shift gears a little bit. Talking about using the agitator system, but using it in more RSS or rotary steerable system applications. I'd like to maybe talk about that. How does the agitator system help with downhole vibration associated with some of those downhole tool failures or challenges that we've seen?
Well, Mike, it's well known that stick slip and torsional vibration is something that it happens, especially in directional applications. The more contact points that you have between the drill string and every BHA component with the wellbore, the more chances you have to instigate and to propagate that vibration. There is a misconception that the agitator is only effective in motor BHAs, and particularly in during the sliding operations. Right. The fact of the matter is that friction is friction, and while static friction is more severe than dynamic friction, during the dynamic friction process, you still have losses, right? The agitator system in these rotating BHAs, it provides the same benefits as it does with a motor BHA, although it might not be in the same magnitudes. We have a technology now, it's called the on-demand, which I think we're going to cover here shortly. But an on-demand tool, it gives you the opportunity to have your offset well and your subject well both one connection apart. Basically, it's an agitator system that it gives you the flexibility to activate downhole. So we've run this agitator on-demand system with in different BHAs, and we can see that ROP differences before and after activation has changed dramatically. During the sliding periods with 10% less weight, we've actually gone up to 100% ROP improvement. But what's kind of surprising for a few people is that during the rotating periods, with exactly the same weight, your ROP also improved, which means that the agitator system is being very effective on alleviate some of that dynamic friction and help transfer the weight to the bed where it needs to be. Also, we're getting more and more runs with Agitator with rotary steerable BHAs, and we continue to see the same benefits. We see that operators that are running Agitator with RSS have to downlink less, which means the directional drillers have more confidence on the directional response of the tool. We see longer intervals drilled with these RSS systems. We see reduction of vibration in general, which means less repair costs to some of the directional companies, and overall a much more drilling drilling efficiency gains that running without the Agitator. And I would like to add that in a lot of cases is the very same directional companies and operators that reach out to us because there is vibration issues, there is weight transfer issues, and they know that the Agitator can help. We do have the evidence, and we do continue to get more runs to show our customers what we can do on RSS BHAs.
So, I have actually the next question I have is kind of regarding reliability and performance, which I know is top of mind for folks across the board, both certainly here at NOV, but obviously for our customers. So I do want to ask you a question about that, but before I do, I know that we're starting to get some questions in from folks that are watching, and definitely don't want to keep them waiting too long. So we're going to start bringing in some of the Q&A from our viewers, and to help us with that, we'll bring in Shelby and see if we can get some of those questions. Hey, Shelby, what do we have?
Hey, Michael. So we're getting a lot of really great questions in the comments. Combine some words there. Yeah. This first one comes from LinkedIn. Can you talk a little bit? We actually had a few questions about having an on-demand pulsing agitator, and this question was kind of a good summary of that. So can you talk about the main objective and maybe the main benefit of having an on-demand pulsing agitator?
Well, hello, Suraj. I know Suraj really well, so I'm glad he's watching. So yes, Suraj, definitely the on-demand tool, it does give you the flexibility to activate the tool downhole when you need it and if you need it. So there are different ways to look at it. Some companies do not like or prefer to avoid the axial oscillations of the string within casing, or with the agitator within casing. So they wait until they get out of casing to activate the tool. In some cases, operators like to have the agitator in the string ready to go. And when ROP drops to a certain level or weight transfer issues are evident, then they activate the tool, and then you have the tool downhole already ready to go. So it does avoid the extra trip that you might need once you get in trouble. So you can look at it maybe as an insurance policy. There are different motivations different customers have, but definitely the increased flexibility is a big benefit. I would like also to highlight the fact that the on-demand agitator design is completely different. Yeah, so we've changed the platform from the standard tool to the on-demand, and the on-demand tool gives us a cleaner pressure pulse, which makes the shock tool operate in a much more efficient way. And we've seen significant improvements, not in 100% of every run, but we've seen a step in performance compared to the standard agitator, and definitely against our competitors. We create to open that gap, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Great, and we got this next question from Mohammed on LinkedIn, and he was just kind of talking a little bit about getting new equipment. And maybe how workers would know how to implement that, how to know if they're tested. So you can talk a little bit about actually integrating the agitator tool on an existing machine.
Well, that's I did not expect that question. I can tell you that not so much related to the agitator technology, but we do have our service equipment product line engineers that we can definitely put them in touch with.
Absolutely. Sorry for bringing you on out of left field. That's my apologies. So then we have another one. This one came on LinkedIn as well. What would be the maximum pressure rate that it can work in? And is that applicable in subsea drilling?
So the pressure drop of the tool basically comes defined by the capability of the rig equipment that the operator has and how much pressure is available between the agitator system and every other component in the string. For us, our standard setup is for a pressure drop of about 5 to 550 psi. Downhole, the tool is rated like any other downhole tool.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think we'll ask this next question, the last one, before we go back to Michael. So because you mentioned the pressure drop. So Vasily on LinkedIn was wondering, is that pressure drop through the tool the same when it's on and off?
So I'm assuming Vasily is talking about the on-demand tool. And the answer is no. So when the tool is not activated, the flow is going through the tool, and there is a small pressure drop of about 50 psi, 50 to 100 psi. And that's done by design to keep the rotor rotating. Once the tool is activated, it goes back to the standard pressure drop that you have that you want to set up the tool for based on mud weights and flow rates of the application. The on-demand, to help you manage that pressure drop at the rig site, because there's always changes, the mud weight might change or whatever. The tool is activated with a dart, and the dart comes dressed with a nozzle. So we have different nozzle sizes that you can install on the dart, and that will allow you to set up the tool on location to accommodate if there is any last minute changes. Other than that, the tool usually will be set up for a 550 to 600 psi pressure drop, unless required otherwise. Some customers like to have a low pressure tool, and we can set them up as low as 350 psi, where the tool is still very, very active and very, very alive.
Yeah. So let's talk about. So thanks for that feedback. I wanted to maybe wrap around and talk about how new agitator related developments and really how we look at ensuring that the tool is as capable as possible for our customers. How do we look at that, especially again when we're talking about wanting to ultimately increase their performance and decrease unwanted trips that they have to incur because of any downhole issues. So how do we look at that, and what are we doing in that space?
Absolutely, it's very important to keep an eye on operations and keep up with trends. And our sales organization does a terrific job following up with customers. What do they see coming? Over the last couple of years, the name of the game is being higher torque, higher flow rates, and we've done very quick adjustments to bring customers what they need. We've come up with the Surge technology, which is a new agitator capable of very extreme flow rate regimes, all the way to 550 for a 5-inch or 5.25-inch tool. And we were very quickly to upgrade the material of all our housings in our tools to higher strength material to cope with the demand for the high torque connections that they've been asking. So, like I said, keeping an eye and an ear out in the field, and get ahead of the curve when it comes to new trends and new demands coming from customers. Right.
So when you think about different markets, I know specifically looking at the North American market, there's been kind of, to your point you just made, a move towards a more kind of high torque, high flow application. When you think about that, how is this tool and how is NOV kind of moving to help answer really the demands of our customers, which is moving in those particular kind of applications? How are we doing that?
Absolutely. Talking to customers, being out there, hitting the rigs, getting the feedback, and keeping very close communication with our engineering teams so that we're all pushing in the same direction. But like I said, it goes from even the raw materials that we use in our tools to new designs, new threads, new components, and more resistant to erosion, for example, on these high flow rate or high flow rate applications. And like I said, trying to always staying ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hear you there. So maybe the last question I have before we get back to some Q&A. I know that we've talked about the technology. We've talked about looking at we've talked about how the technology has been able to be assessed and supported. But can you talk a little bit more about what we're doing to really help continue to look at unconventional applications? What does that look like?
Yeah, so what we do development to keep up with what's really needed today, we're also looking ahead and trying to find what's going to be the next stage. So we're using agitators in new applications, some not as new, but to some customers is new, like in fishing, for example, casing pulling, sand screens pulling, running casing and liners to bottom.
Jump out and come back in. All right, sorry about that.
Etc. So.
Sorry, I think we had a little bit of technical difficulties. I'm going to go into some questions. So we actually had when you started talking about it, but does the agitator have any benefit in stuck pipe in specific? And here's that question here from Andres on LinkedIn.
We do have quite a bit of experience in fishing applications. Myself, I'm more on the drilling side, but I've been involved in different requests from customers and some support for some of these applications. And unfortunately, a lot of times when we get called to a job with an agitator for a fishing application, whether it's stuck pipe mechanically or differentially sticking, if you don't get the agitator to the rig on time within the first few days, then the chances to recover that fish are diminished. Like I said, we do have quite a bit of extensive experience. We do modeling ahead of the job to make sure that the tool is properly set up. And many times we are very successful with some other fishing operations had already failed. I think the fishing world and the fishing application requires a completely new show, which we can definitely arrange.
Absolutely. So this next one comes from Isabel, also on LinkedIn. This was kind of in part of another conversation happening there in the comments. But she was wondering if we have to take into any consideration what MWD tool is in the hole when we're looking for agitators.
Absolutely, it's a very, very good question. It comes up very, very often. Mm-hmm. So, with 100 reaching almost getting to 100,000 runs, you can imagine that we run agitators with just about every MWD system that there is out there. The tool generate pressure pulses that compete in the same medium with the MWD tool. So that's something that we need to be aware of. We need to acknowledge, and we just need to work through it. Pre-job planning is key with the agitator system and any other system out there, any other tool. We do have a long record of experience with all MWD tools, transmitting data at many different frequencies, and we can set up the agitator with a specific frequency and pressure drop based on flow rates to stay away from that main MWD frequency. And even then, there is a few things that we can do, like I said, pre-job planning to make sure that the two systems are compatible. We've done a lot of lab testing with the major service companies where they brought their MWD systems to our lab, and we ran for a couple of weeks every possible scenario, and we proved that we had 100% compatibility with all three of them.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really great news. And Danny, I want to say thank you so much for joining the show. I think this has been really great. We got some really great questions answered in the comments. And before you go, I did want to go ahead and answer the Rig Geeks question. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to answer Rig Geeks. The question we asked earlier, let me pull that up now, which was how far do the pressure pulses generated by the agitator travel, and in which direction do they travel? And the answer to that is, drum roll, here we have it. Pressure pulses from the drilling agitator have been recorded to travel over 5,000 feet away from the tool. And as far as in which direction, pressure pulses travel up and down from the agitator position. So Danny, could you talk a little bit more about that for maybe all of our Rig Geeks out there in the comments?
Absolutely. It's a very, very important topic. And the key is that the fact that the pressure pulses travel so far is nothing but a positive thing, because it really highlights the area of influence of the agitator system in the entire drill string to reduce friction and to help with weight transfer. What I would like to highlight is that the pressure pulses are generated at the agitator placement. And as these pressure pulses travel away from the tool, from the agitator, they obviously degrade with distance. So we've put sensors in the string, multiple placements in the string, and that's how we know how far the pressure pulses travel. But for example, when that pressure pulse has traveled about 3,000 feet away from the tool, about 65% of the strength has already been dissipated into the system. So the travel pulses travel very, very long distances, but their intensity diminishes as they go along. And actually, this took us to improve the performance by a new concept, a new arrangement, which is adding a second or a third remote shock tool above or below the agitator to make use of these residual pressure pulses, which they're still strong enough to activate a shock tool and get more friction power reduction at that placement. So great question. And hope everybody really understands that the longer these pressure pulses travel, the better the influence of the tool to reduce friction.
Absolutely, Danny. Thank you so much. And again, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for joining the show. I think it was really great hearing from you. Oh, there's Michael. Hey, Michael. Oh, no. Not the day for audio. That's fine. Well, again, thank you, Danny, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. I did want to mention that if you enjoyed this conversation and you're looking for more NOV live, we do go live every week, Wednesdays at 11. But starting today and going forward every Wednesday, we're introducing a new show that will go live at 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and it is the Ask Assad Show. So typically at this point in the show is where we do the Ask Assad segment, where we pull on Assad Mahana and have him talk about kind of the industry in general and what that state of the market looks like. But now we're making that an entire own show. So we will have that later at 1:30 p.m. We're going to have Assad on. We're going to do a whole show. If you want to join then, you can watch the show and hear what Assad has to say for us. If you have a question for Assad, or as always, a comment here for NOV Live, you can email askassad@nov.com, or once again, you can call our comment line. That number is 346-223-4799. It is on the screen. You can call, you can leave a voicemail. It can be totally anonymous if you'd like it to, or you can let us know your name and we'll feature you on the show. Totally up to you. So I'm really excited for that show, and I look forward to seeing everybody later today. Thank you, and I'll talk to you later.